Phew, I hope this is making sense when it all comes back together. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 147 of the Love in Stitches podcast. It's been 2 weeks since my last podcast. Obviously, I cannot even talk. And I'm excited to say that regular podcast episodes are coming back in September. So I took kind of an exploration / needed it for a vacation, just like mentally and also physically. I was out of town a lot over the last couple of months, so I've only had a handful of podcasts and videos here and there, but coming up starting in September, which I'm considering the fall, is going to be back to like regularly scheduled podcasts every single Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time, and most weeks there will also be an additional video on Tuesdays, sometimes a vlog, sometimes a tutorial, sometimes something else. It just kind of honestly depends. So I just feel like today, especially, like maybe you're feeling this way too, deep breath, because it's a crazy time of year with routines starting back up. I don't know if it really matters what age you are. September is like back to school time, and so is August. If, geographically it's different, but I feel like it doesn't matter if you're in school or not or have school age children. It's the time of the year where you're like, all right, time to get it back in gear before it's like the holidays and everything's a mess again. And today I'm just feeling like low energy, a little bit anxious, and I know there are people out there that probably could relate to this today, so I wanted to share it. And I wouldn't always sit down to record something when I'm feeling that way, just because I know it's not my best, best face forward. But I also know that podcasting is one of my favorite things, and honestly, just sitting down to record them makes me feel even better and like fills me up and gives me energy. So that's what I'm hoping to get out of today. So however you're feeling, I hope you make yourself cozy and calm. Get yourself a drink of sparkling water or tea or coffee or whatever you want. Take a deep breath, relax, grab some yarn, even if you're just gonna hold on to it and not even do anything with it. And let's have a great podcast episode. I knew this was going to work. I'm already feeling a little bit better, and I can't wait to tell you all about my projects. So something is happening today that I don't think has happened like that I can remember in a podcast episode so far. I'm sure it has, but it's been a long time. Today, I have no carryover whips, meaning everything that I had in the last podcast is finished and all of the things I'm currently working on are new. So I have whips, but they're new whips, and I have projects from last time, but they're finished. And I just don't know if that's happened in a really long time. And I have to say, it feels quite good. So I want to show you my first finished object, which is a big one. And that is my Seaside Dress. So I'm going to show you a very disappointing view right now, but I promise I will come in at some point and show you like full length. I will put it on, but I didn't feel like putting this on and sitting in it the whole episode when it's like 80 degrees today and I have the air conditioning off in here and I don't really want to mess it up by sitting in it for too long. Okay, this is the Seaside Dress. Here's the top. I know I did this, but dang, it looks good. It looks so finished. We'll go into more details in a second. This is the Seaside Dress by Brianna Lapino, who is the Little Wolf Knits. And I have so many things to share about this because I've had a lot of comments on Instagram like, wow, you finished that super, super fast. And I don't want anyone to think that this is a quick project. However, it was quicker than I thought. But I also did a ton of knitting over the last 2 weeks because I was on a pseudo vacation. But I want to talk yarn first. My words are trying to catch up with, or my mouth is trying to catch up with my brain. My words are not making it happen, but that's okay. It's not all days. I'm going to be really smooth and great with my words. So All of the yarn in this dress is Moon Glow Yarn Company, and the colors are a fade, or I guess an ombre because they're all pink. Does that make them an ombre? I don't know. I faded the colors together, and this is a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So originally, kind of want you to be able to see all the colors together. It's so cool that it went from this really dark, more of a reddy pink, pink I would say, to like a super light, cool pink. But then when you pull it apart, you can really see how it got there. It's so cool. I'm so happy with how this turned out. It is stunning. The pattern is amazing. The yarn is amazing. The color is exactly what I want. The original pattern is color blocked with 3 different colors. Of course, you can make it however you want. One color, do stripes, do a fade, do color blocking, do more than 3 colors like I did, whatever you want to do. So I have ended up with actually 10 colors of pink here. So let me explain. First, I had the original Love and Stitches fade kit that is still available on Moon Glow Yarn Co. I will have it linked below for how many times I messed that up. You're gonna need a link. But it is available online still. It is 7 colors, 7 shades of pink, all 50-gram balls. So this was originally, I should have brought that out, but originally I did a long summer cardigan that had little skinny stripes of pink in it, and the rest of it was gray. And that's what the yarn kit was originally meant and intended to be for. I had so much yarn left over that I ended up making this really beautiful cowl. And then I still had so much yarn left over. Kind of regretted doing the cowl, not because of the pattern, but because I wish I had more yarn left for the dress. I might not have needed more, but I think I would have needed more. So I realized with those 7 scraps, I think I had like 30 grams left in 4 of the colors and a little less than that in the others. I'm like, okay, this is not enough yarn, but if I get a little bit more from Whitney, like 100 more grams, I should be okay. So then Whitney, being the color genius that she is, she dyed me 2 more shades of pink that went in between the original colors 1 and 2 from the original 7 color fade. So then I was left with 9 different colors, different shades, or different tints, artists, is it shades or tints? I don't know, of pink. I had 9 balls of yarn nonetheless. And I was like, great, this is good, it's going great. I started with the darker colors. I was working through them pretty fast. And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna have enough yarn. I'm already on color, like, I don't know, I think I was on color 4, like here, and I had all this left to go. So I was like, okay, these 9 colors, it's not gonna work. What if I check in with Whitney and see if she has any more of the fade kits left, or can dye me those, like I think I had 4 colors remaining at that point. 2 had 50 grams and 2 had like 20 grams. So I'm like, maybe she can replace 2 of these for me, and I'll have 50 grams left of 4 more colors. That's 200 grams. That will be plenty for the rest of the dress. Have I been calling this dress a sweater? Because I feel like I said that at least once. So Whitney was like, I got you. I already have a fade kit dyed up, so I will just grab some out of there and send them to you. But what was cool is that when she ended up sending them to me, there was, to replace the colors that I needed perfectly fine, there was one that was like in between other colors that I already had. And because I'm already fading, it was kind of perfect to like add in as a 10th color to also fade. I think that one happened somewhere around like here, like technically both of these colors, I think it's those 2. Technically both of these colors are like color 4 out of 9, but because they were dyed at different times, they were slightly different. I mean, very different times. This is like more than a year apart. But when you get a fade kit, Whitney dyes it all at once, so they are all faded together. So this actually worked out great, that they were slightly different. So I was able to add in 1 more color, giving me 10 total colors of pink yarn, and that's what I ended up with. there's going to be a lot of explanation on this dress because I haven't had very many episodes to talk about it, and there is a lot going on. So as far as figuring out how to, like how many rows to do for each of these yarns, this is what I did. The designer, Brianna, has really great notes in her pattern, and somewhere in there it said the total length of the dress it was either 48 or 49 inches. Of course, you can adjust and make it longer if you need to or shorter, but that was where I was started with. I think I started with 48 inches. I'm like, okay, if I've got 48 inches from shoulder to the hem of the dress and I have X amount of colors, I'll just divide. And originally I had 9 colors, so I did like 48 divided by 9, and I think I got like 4.5 inches or 5 inches or something like that. But that's basically how I did it. I took the total length of the dress, so all the inches of knitting that I was going to do, and the number of colors I had, and I divided. And then you have to factor in fade. So I did not just stripe the colors, so I didn't go straight from using color 1 and then just like immediately start using color 2. I alternated color 1, color 2, color 1, color 2 for 8 rows in between each one. In hindsight, I might have wanted to go for a few more rows. I think you can really see that there, where it's just 1 row stripes alternating. But honestly, I think it's fine. So use this information if you're going to fade or do something like this, or even use this kit, and consider if you want to do maybe more stripes. So then you have to go, okay, so I may want 5 inches of each color, but 1 inch of it needs to be the fade, or however many rows need to be the fade. And that kind of helps you figure out, like I had to kind of sketch it out because it gets kind of confusing. Like if there's 10 colors, then there's 9 fades in between the colors, right? I don't know. Sketch it out, figure it out. And then I also had to adjust along the way. So I had my handy dandy, all my other projects are also still in this bag. I have a really messy like knitting project situation going on. I use my handy dandy scale, and I would weigh a color before I started knitting with it and weigh it after I was done. That is not true because some of them I used up all the way. I would like weigh it, do a couple of rows, and then weigh it again and go, okay, if 2 rows was 3 grams and each row takes 1.5 grams. And then I would start to weigh it as I would get towards the end of a color and go, okay, I need to leave, let's just say each row took 1 gram. I wanted to do 8 rows of fading, but since I'm fading that color every other row, that would only be 4 rows of the color that I had. So I'd be like, okay, if I need 1 gram per row, I need to do 4 rows in the fade. I need to leave at least 4 grams, let's say 5, so that I don't totally work it until the very end, which I did do a couple of times and I had to back out. So that's kind of how I did the fade. Hopefully that makes sense. I also have a lot of notes in my project page as far as different things that I did here. So let's talk pattern. So this pattern was amazing to make. You start at the bottom and you work flat to get this nice split, which is so great. You definitely need it because it's a long dress so that you can walk. Then you work up, 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 up for the whole, basically half the dress is just working straight in the round with some lovely little detailing here on the side, which really helps with fit. Then you work some shaping. So you can definitely see mine when I hold it up straight. I'm not sure. I think you can see that it comes in at the hips. And then it can, as you need, go out at the bust. And then I just loved this so much. When you work the armhole, you're already working the edging as you do it, so you don't have to go back and pick up any stitches to do the armhole, and it looks completely beautiful and finished. And even better, when you work the neck, all your stitches are live except for like a couple of stitches to pick up in the corners, making this one of the easiest patterns I have ever made. So enjoyable to knit because even though it's simple in the way that it looks, it's designed with so much attention to detail, not just how it looks, but how it is to knit, making it really, really just a great pattern. I mean, just everything was so awesome. So I made a couple of adaptations aside from doing a fade over a 3 color block. I started out with the medium, no, not the medium size. I keep saying medium, but it's not really medium. I think it was the second size. That I think I need to go back and add to Ravelry. So hopefully I've done that before you see this, but I did start out with at least, I think it was the second size. My original plan was when I got to the waist shaping, which you can see, sort of. Okay, that's not really showing you anything. Waist shaping, I promise you, it comes in. My plan was to go from the second size to the first size because my hips measured for the second size, but my bust measured for the first size. And because we are knitters and can customize things, I was like, I'm gonna make this dress fit me well, because I had this problem with store-bought things that come, like whether it's a bathing suit or a dress or whatever it is that's one piece, that it's either gonna be gappy at the top to fit my bottom half, or it's gonna be, I can't even sit down to fit my top half, and then still might be too big because I have that much of a difference. So my plan was to come in at the waist decreases and decrease more often to get to that smaller size, like at the bend of my waist. But I decided that that was actually going to be a little too tight for my comfort. So I followed the second size all the way through, again, the bend at my waist. And then I just didn't do as many bust decreases for my size. Instead, I increase. Yeah, increase. The bust increases, oh my gosh, the bust increases for the size that I started at with the bottom was way greater than what I actually did. Instead, I just increased to the stitch count for the first size so that it fit me better. Phew, I hope this is making sense when it all comes back together. It really wasn't difficult to do. I didn't choose to do anything like in between. I chose to stick to the sizes because then I could just follow the pattern when it said, split here and do this many decreases for the armholes and stuff like that. And it worked out great. I did do a little more length here in the waist because I just think that's how my body is. I didn't need bust increases starting from my waist. I kind of needed them starting like at the bottom of my rib cage because I just didn't need that much. There's not that much of a difference there between like rib cage and actual bust. So I didn't need to start increasing that early. And then, did I make any other changes? I think the only other thing is I took out a little bit of short row shaping here at the back of the neck because I did it and I tried it on and then I saw I didn't need that extra material, so I took it out. But, oh, somebody is asking me, what is this bind off? This is a tubular bind off. It's a sewn bind off, and I think it looks really, really good here. I don't know if it's the yarn, I'm guessing that's part of it, or just that I've done it a lot of times now and I'm getting better at it. That could be part of it, I don't know. But it is such a nice way to give a really finished look to 1x1 ribbing. So instead of having like that very obvious like chain kind of look on the top, it's more of like a, like the stitches go all the way over. I don't know how to explain, but it definitely looks so good. Okay. That's it, I think. Is that everything that I wanted to say? Again, I've got notes on my Ravelry project page, which is linked down below. Oh, yes, the time that it took to make this. So this is a lot of knitting. I don't know if I've ever knit anything in stockinette that's this many inches long. I think it's like 48 inches long. So the bottom half takes the longest, I think. It's the most stitches that you'll have. And once you get to those waist decreases, that's where I started to feel really encouraged. My stitch count was going down. It was getting like faster each row. And that's when I went on vacation. And I kind of went bananas, and I think I knit like 20 inches in 5 days or something. And that's how I was able to get this done so fast. I'm really glad I did because I was working really hard to get this finished by a certain date so I could cast on another sweater, which I will show in just a second. I have one other finished object to show, but this one will be a lot quicker, I promise. There's not much to explain on this one. So these are what I have called my vacation socks because I started them on a vacation to Jamaica in July. And then I actually finished them on a vacation to Tennessee in August. So they truly were vacation socks, although I definitely worked on them here in New York City as well. Just whenever I was walking to Pilates or going out to meet friends, anytime I just needed something small and portable to work on. So, oops, that's not the yarn. This is the yarn. This is Olivia and Oliver fibers in the colorway Bavura. And I think that Tam, the dyer, said that she would have this colorway available in her next update. Whether that happens before or after this, I'm not really sure, but it's a really, really lovely color. I like this base a lot. The first time I used it was during Sock Week. Tam was one of our Sock Week sponsors, but it is a 75-25, which is not uncommon. But the thing that makes it different is it's a 2-ply. It's a 2-ply high twist, so it's not a lot thicker like other 2-ply sock yarns tend to be. It's still nice and thin, but has that like roundedness to it. I don't know, I just really like it, and I haven't seen the base from other dyers. I'm sure other dyers have it. This was my introduction to it. So for these socks, I did a perfect fit sock, which is my own sock design. That includes another designer's heel, the Fish Slips Kiss heel, with some modifications. And it's just a vanilla sock. And yeah, that's all there really is to say about these. I am really liking the color. I really just enjoyed knitting with that the whole time. So those are done. Another pair of socks off the needles. I have no clue how many I've made this year, but a lot. I have no idea. I'll have to sum that up all at the end of the year when I do my year in review. So let's move on to some whips. And I have a messy whip situation, which I mentioned just a minute ago. And that is that I finished all these projects, of which the yarn and other accoutrements are down here at the bottom for my dress. And then instead of like getting new project bags, I just started piling everything into this bag. This is from Black Pearl Magic. And now there's just a mess in here. So I need to spend some time, or I would like to spend some time, separating out my new cast-ons into their own project bags, because I don't really need to be carrying this around with leftover yarn from previous projects. That just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay, so I think let's talk first about my new sweater cast-on. So I really wanted to finish my Seaside Dress. Now I'm like, wait, was there even a moment where I said Seaside Dress during that entire 17 minutes I talked about it? Hopefully you saw it on the screen. But I wanted to finish it by August 22nd because August 22nd was cast on day for the Andrea Mowry Rhinebeck sweater, which is called Alpine Glow. So I'm making the Alpine Glow 1, and it has been an adventure already. I've barely done any knitting on it, but it was like really difficult for me to find yarn. I'm still not, I can't say I'm 100% satisfied with what I've picked out, but I've done what I can. I'll explain. This is what I've done so far. I cast on and I did the short rows for the back of the neck, and that's where I need to stop because actually my next yarn is not here yet, but I want to show you what I did get. So in the last podcast episode, I showed the first yarn that I got for Alpine Glow from Magpie Fibers, which is the recommended yarn. And I just didn't like my colors. They did not look great for the sweater. They were like great colors, but just, it wasn't right. And that's the difficulty with choosing colors online, is you just don't really know what's gonna happen. So then I had, I would have ordered more Magpie, except it was all sold out, and anything that you would buy as a pre-order was gonna take like 6 weeks. And I was thinking, I need to get this sweater started because we are working on it in the Love and Stitches membership. I want to be working on it like when they are, starting on August 22nd. And so I just couldn't wait, and I decided to get some yarn from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It's a similar-ish yarn, but the thing that is I'm not too certain about is that it's just a little bit thicker. And I'm kind of worried that it might be a little too, maybe not stiff is the right word, but like it's a different feel than the Magpie yarn. Both are really good yarns, but I think for me personally, I kind of like just a softer yarn rather than something that's a little loftier and something that's a little toothier. And that's just my own like preferences, or this could be the sweater that shows me that I'm wrong about that. I don't know, which is, it's always fun to kind of have an adventure, but I'm also trying to like listen to my gut when it comes to knitting so that I'm not making things that aren't going to make me happy. But I did end up getting this yarn, and it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn. Please don't let me say, like, please don't think that this is not a great yarn. It's just, I'm not 100% sold on it for this sweater, but it will end up being what I'm going to make it out of because that's what I have and that's what I'm starting. Now the colors, they're going to be great. So I did a virtual shopping session with Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Montana. We did it on Zoom. It's available to anyone who wants to shop with them. You just go to their website and sign up for a time block, and somebody will shop with you over Zoom, which is really great. It's still a little hard to see exactly the colors, but the added bonus is that you have somebody there in person looking at the yarns that you're putting together that can tell you like, yes, these look good together, or like, I know it looks like a orangey pink, but really it's like a cool pink. Like it was such a good experience, so I can't recommend that more highly. So they helped me pick out my colors, which I think are really, really pretty together. So first I have Spin Cycle that I already had in stash. I have 2 of these in stash. My other one is a little bit more of a red pink, so I'm using this for the majority of things, and then I will like snip out the colors that fit with this from my second skein. But this is Spin Cycle. I have all of them here. Spin Cycle dyed in the wool, and the color is Unicorn, which is a color that's only available at Do You Knit in Westville, New Jersey, and I got it on the yarn crawl. Oh no, I haven't talked about that yet. Oh my goodness. So this was what everything was based around, was these skeins that I had in stash, because I really wanted to use them, and Spin Cycle is a huge feature of this sweater. Now, I wanted a main color that would let this like pop, and so we settled on this really dark, it is a purpley black, I guess you could say, but it is really going to allow these colors to shine. I know some of it's going to disappear. I could maybe choose to cut that out if I don't want it, but it's going to allow that yarn to really pop. It looks really good against this yarn, and this base is Recollect from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Farmer's Daughter and Recollect. Yeah. And then the contrast color I got it's almost the same base, except this is called, where is it? This one is called Reminisce, because this one is like a cream color before it's dyed, and this one is like a gray. So the colors come out like a little bit different. And so this one is also Farmer's Daughter Fibers, but it's called Reminisce. And this color is Bitter Root. And I have a project page with all the yarns and the colors already linked because I knew I would forget them. And so they're all on there. Now the last color is what I still haven't decided on yet, because I do have more of it coming in, and that is the fuzzy color. It's a cashmere in the original like suggested yarns, but I'm planning to use, well, I've swatched with Farmer's Daughter Oh Dang, and I used this color. This is not the color that we picked in my shopping session. This is the original color that I had picked. And like I said, this has been an adventure. Like half of the effort on this sweater has been picking the yarn and swatching. I think the sweater itself is going to be the easiest part, like actually knitting it. But this yarn works great if you need a fluff. This is Oh Dang. It's a Surrey alpaca and silk. And this was my first time using Surrey alpaca. And I have to say already 10 out of 10, because when I wound it, there's not like fluffy fibers going everywhere like there is with mohair, and it feels softer than mohair. So I'm really excited to have used this. I am 50% sure I'm going to be replacing this with a light pink color, but as the colors are now, this is what I have, which does look really good together. So thank you, Farmer's Daughter Fibers, for helping me shop. So I want to show you the swatching I did because I spent a lot of time, many hours on Sunday, I think, doing the swatching. So here was my process. Swatch number 1, and I used this yarn, what's going to be my contrast color, because I ended up seeing with the yardage I would need just over 1 skein. So of course I got the second skein, but then that let me know that I would have plenty of this purple yarn to use it in swatches and cut, because in order to swatch in the round, I needed to do it this way. So I've done this in the round, which means I've knit every single row and then carry the yarn across the back and then just cut it so that I could block it flat. So this is washed and blocked without a lot of stretch on it. And this was on the suggested needle size, and it came out just a little too big. I was 1 stitch off over 4 inches, which is, I was like, that's probably okay. Let me see what happens when I go down a needle size and go from there. So then I made another swatch, and this is where I started feeling like it was too tight. It was like a little uncomfortable, honestly, to knit with a size 3 needle for me on this yarn, but I got gauge, like exactly stitch gauge and row gauge. The fabric really isn't like too stiff, but I will say this kind of makes me think that this is going to be more of like one of those sweaters that you almost wear as a jacket than a like comfy wear around sweater, which to be honest, I think the way that it looks is more like fancy anyway, so that's probably okay. It's just a different thing, different for me than I'm used to making things that are like throw on and super soft and slinky and well, slinky like the material. So this is just different, but I did get gauge with the size 3 needle. So this is what I ended up going with. And then I did one more swatch. So the swatch was given in stockinette, but I wanted to test my colors and I wanted to practice some of the stitch patterns. So I made a swatch that is very similar to the beginning of the sweater. I did my ribbing. I tested out using the Surrey held double, which is a little thick, but I kind of like the texture. I think you could just do a single. Actually, my friend Amy is just holding her single and it looks great too. And I practiced the increases and I practiced the color work and I practiced the color work for the body. And that gave me lots of really good information because I actually found out that when I do this color work, I'm getting a much smaller gauge. So that tells me that I should probably go up a needle size when I'm doing that portion, whereas when I'm doing this color work, I'm not getting a much smaller gauge. I'm staying pretty close to it because it's a different type of color work. I really should have continued. I didn't want to use too much of my spin cycle because I want to use that color, so I should have continued doing this body pattern, but I didn't. I could always go back to it. And somehow, even though this swatch and just stockinette felt kind of stiff, when I started doing it with all the color work and the body color work, it actually feels fine. So it was kind of like this whole adventure of like, I would make one swatch and I would block it and let it dry overnight and I measure it. I go, oh, darn, need to swatch again. And that's fine. I figured I would do at least 2 stockinette swatches. Did that one and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I like the way this feels. I'm second guessing my yarn choices. Then I did this one and I was like, all right, I really like it. So I'm kind of torn now. I do still have a light pink yarn coming that I think I'm gonna like, but this like camel-y color, what did I say it was called? I think it's called Elk Antler. If I didn't already say, Elk Antler looks really good. So I'm kind of torn if I want to use that or not. I guess I'm gonna see when I get it back in. But that's all for my Alpine Glow. It's a lot, but it's a big process, like especially with a sweater that has a high ticket yarn investment like this one and time, I want to make sure I'm getting it right. So I did want to cast on, yesterday was the 22nd, I did want to cast on with everyone in the Love and Stitches membership. So I did cast on and did as much as I could, but now I'm just waiting until I get my other Surrey alpaca and can test out if I want to use a different color instead of the elk antler. All right, I have 2 more projects to show you here. I actually realized that I was incorrect, and I do have one project that was a whip last week that I'm going to show. But this one is not it. This is a brand new project, and this is a muscle burrow hat by Isolde Teague. You might have also heard it called the Musselburgh hat because it looks like Musselburgh, but somewhere, I don't know if I read it or heard it, that the correct pronunciation is Musselburgh, from, I think, somebody who would know. I can't remember if it's because like they were like, this is where it's based off of and I live there, or like why I felt like I could trust what they were saying, or if it was Isolde herself. I have no idea. But this is a great hat. I made one early last year, early 2021. And I wore it so much last winter. I wore it almost every single day. I would choose it over other hats that I was making, which kind of tells me I probably need to just let those other hats go, that they're not really suiting me. And so I figured it'd be great to have another Musselburgh hat in the rotation for next year. And I have this yarn, which I've just been keeping it. I haven't even put it in a project bag, which I haven't done for the rest of my projects either, but I've just been keeping it in my little Cottontail Farm pouch because this has been my on-the-go project, and I clip it onto my bag when I'm walking to appointments or Pilates. So it really hasn't needed to go in a project bag just yet. This yarn is from Circus Tonic Handmade, and it's the Jubilee sock base, and it's You Are Mighty, which again, I think is a yarn you can only get at Do You Knit, or at least a color, because it is one of their special colorways. So I got this the same time I got the Spin Cycle on the New Jersey Yarn Crawl this year. It's knitting up really, really pretty. So I started out with a crochet pinhole cast on, which is not one of the ones mentioned in the pattern, but I made sure to link it in my project page. So if you're ever wondering which cast on method I used, it's in the details part of this project page. I really, really liked it because the last time I made a Musselburgh hat, I did a knitted pinhole cast on. That was hard. The crochet one, as long as you have a little bit of comfort with a crochet hook, like even just picking up stitches, I think will be a much easier one for most people. So now it's all increased out. I'm just working in the round for a long time. My other Musselburgh hat, I weighed it and it's 80 grams. So I'm kind of hoping to use up almost all, like 100 of this particular skein, because I want to make it a little longer so I can try folding it up and see if I like that. But there's something else I was going to say about this particular, this yarn. This yarn is my very last single skein of sock yarn in stash. I'm actually going to talk more about a stash update in the next segment, but I feel like this is a great milestone because I now, if I want to make a pair of socks, I can either go to my very large scrap stash, which would be more than fine, more than sufficient, because most of my socks take maybe 50 grams of yarn, or I can get something specific to what I want to be knitting. And I feel like for the rest of the year, because we are getting into holiday season, I'm probably going to hold off on buying sock yarn and get holiday stuff, with maybe one small exception. When I go to DFW Fiberfest in September, I may look for some self-striping sock yarns because I haven't had any of those in a while. But anyway, I feel like that was like, woohoo, big milestone. And I'm taking a bit of a break from socks because I've just made a lot of socks lately with Sock Week and everything. And this is kind of a fun other project that has that all the same benefits of working on socks. It's small, it's portable, it uses a skein of fingering weight. It's simple once you get through the crown. Great project. Okay, last thing, I almost forgot about this, but I did put a few rows on my granny stripe blanket, and I feel like it's worth bringing this project up at least every other month or so. This is a project that I started in 2018, and you won't have seen it on my project pages because I usually put it into hibernation whenever I stop working on it, and then if I start working on it again, I will bring it up to my current WIP so it goes on the top of my Ravelry project page. But if you're ever looking for it and I'm not currently working on it, the direct link is below, but you can also search in anyone's Ravelry projects for the pattern or for the project name, and this is my Scrappy Granny Stripes. So here is Scrappy Granny Stripes. All the details on my hook size and how many I started with is all on that project page. I adapted this from the original pattern is Attic 24, and then the yarn hoarder made this. She's the one that I like used her project page to help with mine, but that's how I kind of got to my numbers and everything. But the original pattern is from Lucy of Attic 24, and it's called Granny Stripes. So this week I put in this orange color, which is from my, oh my gosh, I was about to say Yarnia shawl, but that's not it because it's like Yarnia orange. Outstanding shawl, my outstanding shawl that was completed in May, I believe, of this year. And then this color, the second one, you might recognize as the socks that I just finished, the Olivia and Oliver fibers. Look how much I still have. I did the socks. I did 2 rows on this and I still have a ton left. But that was something that I've wanted to do for so long, is like anytime I finish a project and fingering weight, take this out, add a stripe, and then carry on from there. And I think that might be the first time I have actually done that. It's like, okay, you know what? I finished the socks. I think I was kind of in between my other cast-ons, and I thought I would do a couple rows on this. And then I just barely started with this other yarn, which is actually a Sock Week yarn from a while ago, from many years ago. But yeah, I thought I would bring that out and share it with you to show that I worked on it and that I do crochet. I do crochet sometimes, and it's been very enjoyable to work on. I didn't do all of those rows in one day. I kind of did them here and there, so I think I might, who knows, I might work on that. I'm not committing to Scrappy Sunday or anything because for some reason that makes me feel tied down. But it is nice to like put a stripe in it here and there. So speaking of scraps and stash, I think it's time we get into a stash update for August because this was an interesting one. Since I'm kind of easing back into weekly podcasts, I'm just gonna make this segment about stash and updating you on what's happened with my stash in August. And next week we'll talk about plans for September, since it will be September 1st. So let's talk about August's stash. This has been a really interesting month. I was terrified to do my numbers because I really thought it was going to go way up, but actually something kind of interesting happened. So let me just catch you up in case you are new here. I am trying to eliminate my stash in 2022. I started this challenge in January and I've been working my way from, I think I started out with like 50 skeins, almost exactly. I've been whittling my stash down and then growing it and then changing it and then using stuff up and then giving stuff away, all to get me to 20 skeins at the end of July. So let's talk about what happened in August. The ultimate goal is, of course, to get to 0 skeins, and I have now 4 more months to do it. September, October, November, December. So it will be an interesting one. All right, so end of July, I had 20 skeins, and I like to do a little in-out graphic here. I have like a weird checklist on the other page, so I'm trying not to show that too much. But let's talk about what happened. So July ended with 20 skeins. Overall, in August, I actually put 17 new skeins into my stash. That part I knew, and that's why I was really scared, but I ended up giving away 3 skeins. there was a sweater that I bought last year, a sweater's quantity, 3 skeins of yarn, that I looked at and I was like, you know what, this really isn't my color. I think I knew that in the back of my mind when I purchased it, but I really wanted to make the sweater and that was my favorite option at the time. It's okay. I don't think I'm gonna make this anymore. And so I ended up giving it away to a friend in the Love and Stitches membership. So now they can make the sweater. They were super excited about it. So I gave away 3 skeins. I have used, or I am in the process of using in a project. So basically, as soon as I start a project, all of the skeins that are intended for that project come out of stash. So the Alpine Glow is a project that has lots of yarn. So even though I haven't technically cracked into each of those skeins, those are all now officially out of stash since the project has started. So I actually used 14 skeins, which gives me a net of 0 for the month of August. 20 skeins still left. And I went and double checked, counted what's actually in stash intact, and it's 20 skeins. I'm really shocked because I was super nervous with all the yarn that has come in, especially because I brought in 2 sweater quantities for Alpine Glow and I'm only using 1, what that was actually going to end up looking like. And I'm pretty happy with that. So let's break it down a little further. So here's what came in the month of August. So first, 1 skein of Farmer's Daughter fibers, which was my first skein, my first set of Alpine Glow yarn, plus 5 skeins from Magpie. Again, this was the first set of Alpine Glow yarn that I am not actually using, except for maybe the Farmer's Daughter, that's the fuzzy. Then I needed a second set of yarn for Alpine Glow, and I got that all from Farmer's Daughter fibers. That ended up being 10 skeins because these are much smaller skeins than the Magpie. So while the original sweater was 6, the second was 10 skeins. So now I'm like, I have 16 skeins for 1 sweater and I'm definitely not going to use all of them because some of them aren't this just caused me a lot of stress until I wrote it down. I'm like, it's okay. So then I also brought in 1 skein of Moon Glow yarn to finish the Seaside Dress. Technically it was 2 50-gram skeins, but I'm just counting it as 1 because this is my stash challenge and these are my rules. So that brings us to 17 skeins in. Most of them for the Alpine Glow sweater and 1 for the dress that is now finished, which means that skein also went on the out. So 1 skein of Moon Glow came in, 1 skein of Moon Glow went out. That was even. 1 skein of yarn was used for my socks, Olivia and Oliver. That's another skein out. The 3 skeins of Lavender Loon that I gave to a friend. 1 skein of yarn for my Muscle Burrow hat. It's on the floor somewhere, I can't find it. Technically, 9 of those Farmer's Daughter skeins are now coming out because they are going into my Alpine Glow sweater. And then 2 skeins of Spin Cycle are going out. Those were previously stashed, but they're also for Alpine Glow. So Alpine Glow is going to get me 11 skeins out of stash so far. And potentially when the new ones come in, they will also go out. So 12 skeins, that's a lot. That's a lot coming in, but it's also a lot going out, which is really, really great. So again, August ended with 20 skeins. Technically, August is not over yet. So when I do my September plans next week, if there's any changes, if I cast on anything new, which there is a chance I will do that, I will let you know what those are. I just have a quick news and events segment for you today. So the first thing is that the Love and Stitches membership is going to be opening up October 3rd. I know that's a ways away, but go ahead and start thinking about it. There is a link down below where you can sign up to be notified when the membership opens. October 3rd is a Monday. It will be open for 5 days from Monday to Friday. Most likely, I may adjust that a little bit once we get closer to the time, but this will be the last time to sign up for the year. And in the Love and Stitches membership, we do all kinds of different things. It's basically all about community. We operate in quarters, so when you sign up, you're signing up for October, November, and December. So we will have at least 1 make-along during that time. We're planning an Advent swap, like a Scrappy swap. We are going to be doing lots of different social events. In addition to just the general community, we have about 250 knitters and crocheters, mostly women, all women, I think. And we do a lot of different things online, and we do Zooms, and we have a Discord, and it's a lot of fun. So if you think that might be something you're interested in, again, that link is down below to sign up to be notified. You'll get some emails closer to the time of signups, explaining a little bit more about what the membership is like and sharing some things that we've done this quarter so that you can really see if that's something that you would like to do. I have one new video, I think, since I last talked to you. I did a vlog when I traveled to Tennessee to visit my family. That's when I worked on that dress and almost finished it basically in that time. So you can check that out by clicking the link down below. DFW Fiberfest is the closest upcoming in-person event. It is September 22nd through the 25th of this year in Irving, Texas, which is like in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm going to be there on Friday, September 23rd, and I just got my tickets to the Friday night event, which is with Gregory Stitch. So I'm pretty excited about that, and I hope to see you there. So far, I don't know if I'm going to the festival with at least one friend in Texas, so I don't know if they're going to the Friday night event, so I might just be rocking it solo. I asked Ken if he wanted to come, and he's like, I don't think so. And usually he's so good about coming to stuff. So I was like, all right, it's fine, I'll go by myself, which I'm actually cool with. I used to do all kinds of yarn things by myself, and it was totally fine. Last thing, no, wait. That was the last thing. All right, see? Quick and easy. Let's go on to life. All right, what has been happening here in the Love and Stitches community and home? Nothing super interesting. The biggest thing that's happened the last couple weeks is that I went to my youngest brother's graduation, college graduation in Birmingham, Alabama. And I went via Nashville. So I flew into Nashville and I got to hang out with my parents for one night, and then we all drove, including one of my other brothers and his fiance. We drove down to Birmingham and went to my youngest brother's graduation, and then we came back to Nashville, and then I hung out for a few more days, and it was like one of the most restful trips I've ever had because my mom was off. My mom and dad, I think, were both off from work, and we did not do very much. Like, I think there was a 24-hour period that I did not leave the house. Like, didn't go outside at all. I mean, I don't do a ton here, but I at least get out of the house once a day, whether I need to pick something up or go to Pilates or, of course, take Toaster out. So it was pretty nice having no responsibilities. My mom cooked for us. I just went absolutely bonkers on my Seaside Dress and knit and watched HGTV, and it was fabulous. I told my mom when I left, I think I need to do this every 3 months and just come for a couple days alone and do nothing, because that was really nice. It was really, really great. I have been also doing a lot of reading. I don't know why. I've just been in a really, I've been doing a lot of reading this year, and I'm really happy with that. I think it's because I've paired up the knitting and the reading in the mornings, which means I'm reading for almost 30 minutes, Monday through Friday. And surprisingly, it makes you get through books a lot faster than just reading for 5 minutes at night and falling asleep. But I did finish The Girl with the Make-Believe Husband, which is kind of one of those Bridgerton adjacent books. It's from the Roxby series, and it was the second book. It was so good, like probably one of my favorites. I cannot wait to read. I think there's 2 more left in that Roxby series. So if you're a Bridgerton fan and you're sad because you read all 8 of the Bridgerton books, look up the Roxby series. I think it's Roksby. And I do write these books down below. I don't link them or anything. I just write them down. But also by Julia Quinn, super good. I then started and finished Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I really did enjoy. I might read some more books by that author. And just last night I finished Beach Read, and so I wasn't tired yet, so I'm like, let me start another book. What do I already have downloaded? And I had Verity by Colleen Hoover. And I think I read, I don't even know what time it was because I plugged my phone in across the room and I don't have a clock in my bedroom, so I wasn't looking at the time, but I read about a third of the book, and I'm not a fast reader. And so I want to say I read for several hours last night. Verity is dark, and I don't really know what's happening yet because, again, I'm only a third of the way through, but it has me hooked. And when I shared that on Instagram this morning, so many people have said that they really liked the book. They also commented that it was dark. They also commented that they read it really fast. So if you haven't read Verity by Colleen Hoover yet, I think that might be something to put on your list. I know that I had it in my library because somebody recommended it at some point. I went to my several libraries, digital libraries that I have, and put it on hold months ago, and it just became available. So now I'm reading it. That's how I read books. I usually get them from the library, but cannot wait. I think I'm probably going to finish it in the next couple days because even right now I'm wondering what is happening and I want to go read it. And then we've also been watching some stuff. I have a recommendation that I think everyone should try if you like travel. This is a YouTube channel that does videos, kind of like episodes, little mini seasons of things. It is called Jet Lag the Game. It is on YouTube. Look it up. That's what the channel is called. So far, they have 2 seasons on there. They played a game where they did a Connect 4 across America, where they had 2 teams and they each had a goal of getting to 4 states, like up across or up and down. And they had to race each other. And once one team took a state, the other team couldn't get it, just like in Connect 4. It's 4 guys, 3 guys I think are like the main people, and then they usually have like another guest, and it is great. The latest one they just did is they raced to circumnavigate the globe. So it was really fun. I guess maybe it's not quite travel in the sense like they're taking a trip. They're definitely not taking a trip for pleasure. It's a game, but it's a really cool channel, and I think that you will like it. I've been watching Only Murders in the Building. I think I'm caught up except for the one new episode came out today that I can't wait to watch. It's so good. And then another show is Claim to Fame. It's on ABC. It comes on after The Bachelor, but we've been watching it on Hulu because The Bachelor ends at 10 p.m. here, and that is too late. So Kent and I have been watching it on Hulu, and it is a reality show where the people competing are relatives to celebrities, hence claim to fame. And the whole point is to try to figure out, like the other players have to figure out who each other's celebrity relative is, and then there's more elements to that. You wouldn't think it would be that interesting, but it is very good. And I think I've never heard anyone else talk about it, so I feel like it's underrated. So there you go. 2 gems for you. Claim to Fame on ABC or Hulu, and Jet Lag the Game, which is free on YouTube. I hope you enjoy one or both of those. The last thing I want to talk about is weekly wins. I like to kind of look back at the week and see something that is worth celebrating, big or small. And I hope that you will take a moment to do that as well. And even if you're not having the greatest week, maybe you can find something that has been a light or that you're proud of yourself for doing. So this week, I'm really proud of myself for what I've been doing with my stash. I think doing the numbers today made me feel like there's hope to actually finish my entire stash by the end of the year, or at least get it to a place that I'm really happy with. I'm already kind of thinking ahead to how I want to close out that chapter of eliminating my stash, because it was a year-long goal, and starting in 2023, I'm going to have something that I'm focusing on a little bit differently with my stash. I don't know entirely what it is yet. It's kind of forming as I go, but I know that I wouldn't have eliminated this many skeins without having that goal of 0 at the end of the year. And then also this week, using up my very last skein, here it is, using up my very last skein of sock yarn, even though there's a very good chance that I get more sock yarn this year and then use it too, was just a cool milestone. Like, I've had random single skeins of sock yarn in my stash since I knew to call the yarn stash a stash. And it feels really freeing to go, okay, the next time I want to knit a pair of socks, I have a lot of options available to me. If I want to just see something I really like and order it for the season, like I feel totally free to be able to do that. Again, these are just my rules in my head, so it's not like this is something that is necessary, but for me, it's been the goal this year and it feels really good to see myself get really, really close to it. All right, I think that is everything for this episode. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble on about all of my projects. I hope you started or ended the episode feeling a little better than when you started. I certainly did. I feel like I definitely have more energy, even though I'm probably going to put that into a little bit of winding and stash organizing and hanging out with my yarn for this afternoon. And I hope you're able to do a little bit of the same. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!